The Chinese young people are on the verge of collapsing. Recently, there has been a surge in the number of videos on the internet depicting the gloomy situations of young Chinese people. For example, videos show young people flocking to temples to burn incense for spiritual comfort. Chinese media outlets have reported that this trend is not due to religious motivations, but rather an attempt to relieve stress and confusion related to their unemployment circumstances. There is also footage showing a flood of young Chinese individuals at job fairs. And these are videos of young Chinese people bemoaning their desperate efforts to get work. According to the National Bureau of Statistics of the CCP, China is facing its first decrease in urban employment since 1962, with a drop in the number of employed individuals in urban areas from 467.73 million in 2021 to 459.31 million in 2022, a decrease of 8.42 million. The Chinese employment situation is especially dire for college students, with an alarming 17.3% unemployment rate for the urban population aged 16 to 24, nearly 4 times higher than the rate for laborers aged 25 to 59. The CCP's officials also reported that there were 10.76 million college graduates in 2022. However, nearly 70% of them are still searching for jobs. As the number of college graduates in 2023 is predicted to reach a record high of 11.58 million, an increase of 820,000 over the previous year, the employment situation for Chinese college students seems bleak. According to a college student from Sichuan, young people have grown increasingly pessimistic due to the challenges of finding employment and the lack of direction in life. This sentiment is echoed by Tranquility, a former mainland education and training teacher who believes that the Chinese education system is responsible for the employment challenges faced by young adults. The CCP's education system has exacerbated employment difficulties. According to observers, while China's young labor force faces a more severe unemployment crisis this year, the irrationality of China's education system has been identified as a fundamental factor. Tranquility stated that children in China are sent to various cram schools from a young age, and parents pay high tuition fees to secure their admission to a good university in the future, but ultimately, China is not a society that values qualification. It is a society that mainly fights for fathers, money, and connections. Commenting on the issue, Japanese political commentator Li Yiming spoke with the Epoch Times on March 27 and pointed out that the problem of the CCP's education system itself, coupled with factors such as the economic downturn, the real estate downturn, and the relocation of foreign companies, make it difficult for young people to find employment. Li Yiming further explained how the CCP's education system has been unreasonable for decades, especially around 2000, when the former CCP leader Jiang Zemin's education minister Chen Zhili launched an education industrialization. According to recent public statistics, there has been a notable shift in Beijing's educational landscape, with the number of postgraduate graduates surpassing the number of undergraduate graduates for the first time in 2022. Despite these figures, the job market remains grim for many highly educated individuals, as evidenced by the plight of former Southern Weekly reporter Meng Lan, who holds a postgraduate degree in Chinese philosophy. Meng described his struggles in obtaining employment after being jobless for over 6 months in a video released on March 26, despite submitting many resumes and even considering becoming a Taoist, but to no avail. He lamented, "Even if you have proper work experience and a postgraduate degree, no one cares if you are past the age of 35. When I saw that my hometown, Qingqing Mountain, was recruiting Taoist priests, I clicked in and realized that no one above the age of 35 could apply. Just kidding, my major is actually quite suitable, because I study philosophy." Another video has also gone viral of a young man who worked as a deliverman in Meituan after graduating from Tsinghua University, China's #1 university. The man said in the video that after graduating from the London School of Economics and Political Science at Tsinghua University, he chose to be an English teacher to make a living. However, the teaching price had dropped to 50 yuan an hour, and he couldn't recruit students. He was really hungry, so he decided to become a delivery man. As the job market in China continues to be scarce, some college graduates have resorted to taking delivery jobs. A recent employment report by Meituan, the largest online and on-demand delivery platform in China, revealed that its takeout delivery team includes 60,000 master's students and 170,000 undergraduates as of the first half of 2020. However, recent reports suggest that jobs for delivery personnel are scarce due to too many workers and too few orders. In the meantime, a new noteworthy phenomenon known as full-time sons and daughters has appeared in China, leading to the formation of groups such as the Full-Time Children's Work Exchange Center on the Chinese social platform Douban with nearly 3,000 members. This trend, where individuals choose to stay at home and care for their elderly parents in return for payment, is particularly popular among fresh graduates, overseas returnees, and highly educated individuals who struggle to find suitable employment. In some cases, young people who had a privileged upbringing find it difficult to adapt to the pressures of society, and so they opt to stay at home as well. In addition to the bleak picture of unemployment, there have been instances of intense competition for low-paying jobs in various parts of China, such as 2 librarian positions in Nanjing that drew over 100 applicants and a material factory in Jiaxing that drew over 300 interviewees for 20 openings. There are also some videos showing that in Shenzhen, Dongguan, Suzhou, Nanjing, and other cities in Guangdong, a large number of young people are sleeping on the streets because they cannot find a job. The dire situation has prompted many young Chinese people to refer to themselves as Kongiji, a character from a Lu Sun novel symbolizing poverty and desperation while wearing a long scholar's gown. The trend of Kongiji has caught the attention of the CCP authorities, who have launched a series of campaigns to guide public opinion. The CCP hypes up young people to collect garbage and set up street stalls. Recently, the CCP's official media have ramped up their coverage of flexible employment, referring to non-traditional work methods such as odd jobs and food delivery. While experts within the CCP believe that flexible employment will become more mainstream in the future, there are concerns that the new jobs associated with this type of work, such as cat feeders, home cooks, and medical attendants, are primarily for the poor to serve the rich, and the difficulty of flexible employment is also increasing. According to the Flexible Employment Prosperity Index report for Q4 2022, nearly half of flexible employees have insufficient Social Security, with the Employment, Income, and Consumption Prosperity Indexes for flexible employment all declining compared to the previous quarter. Despite projections of over 200 million flexible employees in China this year, more than half do not have pension insurance, and many of them are unable or unwilling to participate in skill training. On the other hand, the CCP's CCTV published a commentary on March 17 that criticized highly educated young people for not being able to take off their educational gowns and being unwilling to do low-end jobs, resulting in unemployment and staying at home. Subsequently, the CCP's official media began hyping news about young people who earn high incomes from low-end jobs. For example, CCP media outlets highlighted the story of a 1995 graduate of Zhengzhou University who put aside his arrogance to collect trash and achieve financial freedom with a monthly income of up to 5 figures. The CCTV also advertised the story of a 1995 couple in Yiwu, Zhejiang Province, who earned 9,000 yuan a day by setting up a night market stall. Another story promoted by the CCP's official media involves a 2000s nurse in Lini, Shandong Province, who earned 15,000 yuan in 2 weeks by selling fruit part-time. Furthermore, CCTV has also promoted news about farmers starting businesses and earning millions of yuan per year. However, according to Australian scholarly Yuanhua, these stories are fake news and do not withstand scrutiny. He argues that there are no employment opportunities and that the CCP is trying to shift responsibility for the lack of jobs onto college students. Li Yuanhua believes that the dire employment situation in China now is tied to the CCP's stringent 3-year zero-COVID policy. He said, the current employment rate is actually related to the CCP's 3-year zero-clearing policy, and it is because, after the epidemic, this Western society has a clearer understanding of the CCP, so it withdrew its capital and moved its factories to other regions to block the CCP's way of making money by pointing at this world factory. In the past, the CCP has made up terms about employment, such as self-employment, and then let it seem great on the surface since the unemployment rate is quite high and it can no longer be hidden, so it is a little broken and the figures made public. After the release of these news reports, many netizens criticized and questioned the official media's credibility, accusing it of promoting fraudulent activities and misleading college students into going to the mountains and going to the countryside. Some analysts believe that this is the return of the Cultural Revolution. The Cultural Revolution has come back. According to Chen Pokong, a current affairs commentator based in the United States, the Chinese Communist Party has brought back the Cultural Revolution in ways that are not obvious to people. With China facing serious economic problems and high unemployment rates, the CCP is using deceptive methods to persuade young people to go to the countryside. Chen recently commented in his political program that instead of using phrases like going to the mountains and going to the countryside, the CCP is using terms like high-quality farmers, rural revitalization, and high-quality development to motivate young people to go to the countryside, even though it is actually a dead end. Several Chinese provinces have recently released the 2023 Communist Youth League Action to promote employment of college students, which requires students to take the initiative to seek hardship at the grassroots level. The initiative aims to encourage college students to seek employment opportunities in the Western region and at the grassroots level by carrying out voluntary services for a period of 1 to 3 years. On Weibo, articles such as how to attract more talents to return to their hometowns have become a topic of discussion, among which are girls born in the 90s have brought back the agricultural boom in their hometown. This post-2000s village doctor has become a little padded jacket for villagers, and girls born after 1995 become agricultural machinery operators after graduation. These articles were all published by China Youth Daily and other official CCP media. On March 31st, a China Youth Daily article highlighted Guizhou college students who take root in the grassroots. These students were proclaimed to help open up sales for unsaleable products in their hometowns and even applied for the post of Deputy Secretary of the Township Youth League Committee. On April 4th, a China Youth Daily article gained considerable attention for featuring Zhang Guifang, a girl born in 1997 who became a village cadre in Sanjia village at the age of 24. Her daily work involves handling trivial matters for the villagers, and her success has made her and her village well known. According to the report, Zhang Guifang was very uncomfortable in her first few months as a village cadre, but now she thinks the job is more and more interesting and enthusiastically shares her experience with fellow young people who seek to contribute to rural revitalization. It is worth noting that on February 20th, the CCP's Guangdong Provincial Youth League Committee carried out the Guangdong Youth Support High-Quality Development Mobilization meeting. During the meeting, they released the 3-year action plan for Guangdong youth, which aims to send 100,000 young people to the countryside, 100,000 young people to return to their hometowns and train 100,000 young people to improve rural revitalization skills by the end of 2025. So what is the real purpose of Guangdong's new version of going to the mountains and going to the countryside? Even though the official document refers to this practice as returning home for training, commentator Wen Zhao believes that the government's grouping of 300,000 young people in rural areas is a face-saving strategy to avoid counting them as unemployed in urban areas, because many people believe that the CCP's unemployment statistics exclude rural areas. They are temporarily relocated to the countryside to prevent peak unemployment in the city and the ugly scene of rushing for jobs in the city. According to Wen Zhao, at worst, it's a plan to create misfortune by dispersing the urban unemployed people to prevent them from causing trouble in cities. After these unemployed people are scattered and resettled, there will be no white paper revolution caused by unemployed young people taking to the streets in unison. Despite the plan's objectives, Wen Zhao argues that Guangdong, one of China's most economically dynamic provinces, should have ample job opportunities. With major cities such as Guangzhou and Shenzhen and thriving urban centers like Foshan and Dongguan, the province should not be experiencing a shortage of employment opportunities. Wen Zhao speculates that this policy may have far-reaching intentions and could be a sign of more large-scale travel to the countryside in the future, as some provinces will follow up. According to Chinese writer Xing Shui, who lives in Canada, young Chinese people today have little space to advance and lie flat. She suggests that these young people may become a force in what the CCP considers to be social unrest, and the party must find a way to alleviate this force. Xing Shui said, "So, the CCP is very likely to restart the campaign of going to the mountains and going to the countryside again, driving young people to the countryside. Because after rushing to the countryside, as long as you have something to eat from farming, you will not say that you are going to starve to death and then rise to rebel. But farmers have no extra land to grow on, and migrant workers are all unemployed at home. All the policies of the CCP have entered a dead end." The CCP's deception is hard to pull off. Chen Weijian, editor-in-chief of Beijing Spring, a monthly magazine focused on China's democracy movement, believes that the current CCP is incapable of forcing urban youth to move to the countryside. He pointed out that the current campaign is different from the Cultural Revolution era, when the household registration system was in place and tickets were required to travel. Mr. Chen said, "In the Mao era, there was a household registration system. At that time, tickets were required. If anyone did not respond to the CCP's call to go to the countryside, his household registration would be cancelled. Without household registration, tickets, and food stamps, he would not be able to survive. But now the situation is different. Now that there is no ticket, he can refuse to go." He further explained that during the Mao era, young people who were sent to the countryside were sent to the homes of farmers, and the government gave them rations. But now, the land has been divided among households, and the land belongs to farmers' private property. Therefore, if the government asks farmers to provide rations to young people who have gone to the countryside, it will be very difficult to do so. Although the CCP might try to take coercive measures, the complexity and difficulty of doing so are unimaginable, and Mr. Chen believes that the CCP cannot force young people in the city into farmers' homes. The Chinese Communist Party proposed the Going Up to the Mountains to the Countryside movement in December 1968, more than 2 years into the destructive Cultural Revolution. As a result of the chaos and stagnation brought about by the Cultural Revolution, social order in China was severely disrupted, and there was a backlog of graduates from universities, high schools, and junior high schools who were unable to enter social work. These students needed to be sent out of school immediately. In addition, Mao Zedong, who had encouraged the Red Guards to rebel and overthrow top officials such as Liu Shaoqi, had achieved his goal of launching the Cultural Revolution and was eager to rid himself of these overly radical students. Therefore, on December 22, 1968, Mao's instructions were published in the People's Daily. "It is very necessary for educated youth to go to the countryside and receive re-education from the poor and lower-middle peasants." This marked the beginning of the large-scale movement of educated youth going to the mountains and going to the countryside across China. Almost all of the junior high and high school students, known as the Old Three Classes, went to the countryside in 1968. During the Cultural Revolution, over 16 million educated youth were sent to the countryside, with 1/10 of the urban population affected. By sending a large number of urban youths to the countryside for labor, Mao used this to achieve the goal of disbanding the Red Guards. However, this resulted in the loss of the potential of millions of young people, countless families being forcibly separated, and social chaos at all levels. Please share your thoughts in the comment section below. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and turn on the notification bell to get the latest video, and thank you for tuning in.